Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Mark McNulty, president of Action Coach Bluegrass in Southern Indiana. And today I have Brian Sampson, who's the owner and president of ServiceMaster Trifecta. Thank you, Brian, and welcome today.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. I don't usually do interviews with Notre Dame alums as I'm a Purdue alum, but I know we have many common connections, and I think you interviewed my friend Ray Strothman recently, and so I'm honored that you would ask me to be on your show.
Yeah, that's great. So today, folks, we're going to be talking a little bit about Brian's journey, about his business, his challenges he's had to overcome, best practices, and just share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. Now, if this is your first time listening in, be sure to like and subscribe so you get notifications when we drop new interviews just like this one. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to become the owner of ServiceMaster Trifecta.
Yeah, well, I'll start with ServiceMaster. So at ServiceMaster Trifecta, we help residential and commercial customers restore their lives, their property, their businesses by eradicating debris and damages that are caused by fire, water, and mold. I acquired 3 ServiceMaster franchises in 2018, 2 in the Louisville area, 1 in Nashville, and these businesses have been operating as far back as 40 years, at least in the Louisville area, but I've owned since 2018, so I'm almost 6 years in. And before this, I worked in corporate America. I started my career at GE here in Louisville. I was an engineer at Purdue when I started with GE and primarily worked in the supply chain for GE. Went back to get an MBA at Harvard Business School after a couple of years of working, and then I got into the oil and gas business and really learned a lot in that business. It's a roller coaster to be an entrepreneur. It's a roller coaster to be in the oil and gas business. So, I learned the up cycles and the down cycles, which can be pretty extreme. And I think you learn as much in the down cycles as you do the up cycles. So that was a fun part of my career, but a lot of challenges too.
Yeah. So what possessed you to buy a business?
Yeah, I ask myself that a lot, Mark. Really, I think, I'd sort of reached my limit in corporate America. And when I say reach my limit, I sort of just had enough and wanted to build my own thing with more freedom. So that was part of it. But also just personally, I've got 4 kids, and especially in my oil and gas career, I moved around a lot, about every 2 to 3 years, moved to a different city. My wife was great. She made it really into an adventure for the kids that each new city had its own fun things. But we said, when our kids get to sort of the middle school age, that needs to stop. We need to put some roots down in one place. And so buying a business was part of that as well. And we said, we want to come back to Louisville. We want to live here. We want to put our roots down here. And when you own a business, you're really pretty rooted.
Yeah. So tell our listeners a little bit about your role. You've got 3 franchises, you've got 3 units. So what's your role in the company?
We run our business on the entrepreneurial operating system. So I'm the visionary is my title, or it's what I do. Come up with 20 new ideas every day, develop and manage big relationships throughout the company. Culture is a big part of my responsibility, and developing that and making sure that we're pure to that. Those are the main things that I do. And then I work side by side with an integrator. Wes Walker is my integrator, and he really runs the day-to-day for us at ServiceMaster. He's got a very complementary skill set to me, so, makes up for me in a lot of areas where I'm not strong. And it's a great feeling to have someone like Wes at my side and to be able to work with him every day.
Okay. Awesome. So who's your primary audience for the business? Who are your typical customers?
Yeah, there's really 2 ways to look at it. We're going into homes and businesses every day. So our customers in that regard are homeowners, business owners, and we're trying to get their homes back to normal as quickly as possible. If they've been flooded or they've had a fire, we want to get them back into the home, get the home rebuilt if there have been significant damages. And if it's a business, we want them to get back into business as quickly as possible, minimize that business interruption. But the other way to think about our business and our customer base is it's insurance agents, insurance adjusters, property managers, facility managers. And that's more of, what I would call like the recurring business is the agents and the adjusters that have worked with us, and they will refer us to homeowners and business owners. You're only going to have a water loss. The actuarial data says once in every 7 years, you're going to have one. So I don't know if you've had one, Mark, or not, but if it's been 7 years, make sure you're ready and you know who to call. Once every 7 years, a homeowner is going to have that. So we kind of think of the agents and the adjusters as more of our sort of recurring business that they'll refer us out to numerous policy holders.
Okay. So there's a lot of water damage restoration companies out there, right?
Yeah.
What makes you stand out? What makes you unique?
It's really a combination of things. And so I would say, the three uniques we talk about are being the safest choice in restoration, being a company with a heart, and being a local company with a national footprint. So none of those things really in and of themselves make us unique. There are plenty of restoration companies, that are sort of franchise model or locally owned, but they have a national footprint. And they may be full service like we are too. So that in that way, they're a safe choice. They can do the rebuild as well as the mitigation. But we think being a company with a heart in combination with those two other things is pretty unique for us, that our employees are very empathetic. We understand that, this is maybe one of the most traumatic things that a person has ever been through. If not the most, it's definitely a traumatic experience to have your home, most likely your most valuable asset, be in a state where you wonder if it's ever going to be the same again. So we say those three things: being the safest choice, being a company with a heart, and then the local presence with the national footprint where we can call in additional help if we need for large scale events. All of that is what makes us unique.
Okay. So tell me more about safe choice. That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, safe choice. We want to be the easy button for the insurance agent and the adjuster. And so what the easy button means is they can refer a homeowner to us and we can take care of them from the start to the finish, which means we can take care of the mitigation. The mitigation phase is sort of drying out the house, and we can take it through to the reconstruction. If there are floors that need to be replaced, if there are walls that need to be replaced, we can do all of that. We'll work with the homeowner and the insurance company, and we're really working on the homeowner's behalf to make sure that they're getting what they've been paying for in their insurance premiums. And we don't want them to have to call their agent and be asking a lot of questions. So one of our core values is to communicate proactively. We want to explain to them what the process is, what they can expect, and kind of minimize the disruption to the insurance agent. So that's kind of what being a safe choice is all about. And of course, it's about operating our business with integrity, which is really just a given, just a ticket to the game.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. That helps a lot. What are some of the roadblocks or challenges you've had to overcome over the last 5-6 years since you took over the local franchises?
Yeah, there have been a number. I think one of the big challenges was just buying three businesses, in a short period of time. They were small businesses, but they were all owned by different families. And I underestimated the challenge of running three small businesses and trying to merge the cultures into one. So that's been a huge challenge for me. I'd say we're still on that path, but we're a lot closer to having a common culture now than we have been. Of course, COVID was a great challenge for every business owner, every leader in every company or nonprofit. We had a lot of business during COVID because it sort of highlighted the importance of clean workspaces and clean environments. And of course, our core business of homes being flooded or homes catching on fire, that didn't really go away. It's sort of agnostic. So it was a good time for us from a business perspective, but we had to navigate the things that everyone else had to navigate, which was workforce challenges and making sure all our people stayed healthy. The hiring environment was very difficult. So I'm probably not saying anything that most of your listeners didn't experience during that time, but it certainly was an interesting time to be a business owner. But I would say, yeah, the culture piece has been a tough one.
So let me ask a little bit about that culture, because that was the one thing that I had in my mind is like, buying three and then trying to merge them all into one. So what are some things that you had to do to work through that, to kind of take three unique cultures into one, especially one
Yeah,
that's remote?
yeah. Well, I think one of the things I've learned or have had reinforced for me is the importance of getting wrong people out of the business very, very quickly. I think in the beginning that was very difficult for me. I was operating quite a bit out of fear, not knowing the industry. I didn't know in a small business, it's not like working at GE where you had a big bench that you could draw from if you needed to move on from someone. So when you figure out that someone is not the right fit, getting them out as soon as possible is one of the most important things to do for culture, for a positive workplace, for productivity for everybody. So that's one thing that I would say. The other thing, I love Cotter's book about leading change. If you've ever read that, it's kind of a classic book, but finding that sort of, I think he calls it a guiding coalition, so finding people that can be culture warriors in the different businesses and the different locations has been really important for me as well. So I would say those are some of the key things.
Okay. So how have you had to adapt your leadership style coming from corporate to small business, multi-location? What have you had to change about you to be the right leader?
Yeah, I'm still learning that, Mark. And one of the best books that I've read in the last couple of years is a book called People Fuel. And People Fuel talks about what they call relational nutrients. So, if you think about sort of your physical body, if you don't get enough iron, you're going to become anemic. Or if you don't have enough calcium, you're going to have problems with your bone density. I think we fall into a trap or a mindset as business leaders and especially business owners about how much we have to give and pour into people, which we do. It's very, very important. But you can only give what you've received. And so you need to put people around you that can, provide you with relational nutrients. And by you, I'm talking about me. I need to have people around me that are encouraging me or challenging me, showing, a good balance of kind of grace and truth. And so I've just learned the importance of having, a coach like you to be able to talk to. In my case, I have even a therapist. I like to call her an executive coach, but she's a therapist, and I'm a big fan. I think it's really important, fueling myself mentally. You can't really go on a retreat and, get pumped up about your leadership and be feeding into people every day without getting the nutrients yourself on a regular basis. So I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned about my leadership is just the need for others around me to provide support, to be able to ask questions, maybe just that will listen to me rant and rave once in a while.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So real quick about your teams. You mentioned like during COVID, it was hard hiring. So what's been your approach to finding great team members? And then even more importantly, is, retaining great team members?
Yeah. We've kind of been all over the place as far as recruiting. And, one of the mistakes I've made or things that I've learned is it's probably not a good idea to hire friends and family. So if you're a business owner, that's probably not a source you should be looking at. Or if you are, take great caution in that because it's very difficult and it can, put some stress on your personal life for sure. But we've utilized in some cases recruiters to help us bring people in. We've, for a good majority of the time, had our own internal HR doing recruiting. We've connected with some different organizations that are either like refugee organizations or they are maybe some second chance organizations. We've partnered with some military recruitment to bring people in from the military. So we've done a lot of things on that front. I think, like you said, even more importantly is how do you retain the right people when you get them and minimize that turnover. And our industry is a high turnover industry, so some of that is natural. But as we've developed the culture, I got to a point where I said, I don't ever want to hear again someone tell me that they didn't have a chance to grow and they needed to leave to grow their career. And so I think we've done a pretty good job to put in a career path, especially for entry-level people coming in to say, here are the things that you need to demonstrate as a technician before you can become a lead technician. And then when you become a lead technician, of course, you're going to get a pay increase. And then there are going to be the steps to become a project manager. When you complete those steps and we have the need for another project manager, you'll have the opportunity for that role, an increase in pay, responsibility. So I think that's one of the most important things that we've done as far as retention. We could celebrate wins more. That's something we talked about last week in our annual planning meeting. We don't do a great job celebrating the wins. We do have fun together. We had Christmas parties in both of our locations. We'll do those kind of things throughout the course of the year. We'll have celebrations for people that have maybe gained a new certification, or it seems like we've had a baby boom the last 2 years. So we've had showers for folks and we load them up with like a garage full of diapers. So usually they don't have to buy diapers for about a year. But I think that's still an opportunity where we can improve is on having a little fun together, celebrating, and that's an important part of retention too.
Right. It's amazing how we can always find 10, 15 minutes to talk to an employee about something they messed up.
Yeah.
Yet we never seem to be able to find the 30 seconds to say, hey, great job.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing I mentioned, Wes, my integrator. Wes is really good about both of those things, giving the corrective feedback very quickly, but also giving the positive feedback quickly. And I can tend to overlook that, but Wes is very good at it. And I'm thankful, as I said, to have him.
It's good to have that well-rounded team to help you out.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit, where do you see things for the business in the next, kind of 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. Well, the last 2 years, we've grown about 40% each of the last 2 years on the top line, but all of our growth hasn't been profitable. So I think we sort of got out ahead of our skis a little bit, is one way you might describe it. So we're focused on building out our processes so that our growth can be a little bit more under control. It can be more repeatable. We have some additional territories that we would like to move into as part of our growth. And we just need to nail the processes, document them, simplify them, make sure that everyone's following them as part of our growth. So that's going to be a really, really big key for us this year. And it opens the door for us to really expand our business in a big way, both territorial wise and even organically in the markets we're in, just having more repeatable processes. And one example, Mark, where we can grow, we've grown a pretty sizable construction business. So sort of the second half of the mitigation, the reconstruction. We didn't have that in Nashville at all when I bought the business. We had a small construction business here. We've grown it to where the last couple of years we've been in the top 10 in Louisville in the book a list as a remodeler. They classify us in there. But we think we can triple that business in the next 2 years. There's just a lot of opportunity for us to convert jobs. They're warm leads for us. And like I told you before, we want to make it easy for these homeowners and be able to see them from start to finish rather than have them hand off that work to another local contractor.
Okay, great. Well, we've certainly covered a lot today in a short 20 minutes. So now I've got kind of just a last few questions for you here. They're just kind of quick off the top of your head answers, and we'll close it out. So first question is, what's the key to success for you?
The key is having great people around you. I have some great ones around me. We have a number of people in our business that, I refer to them as ride or die service master. And I'm thankful to have so many of those people that they're just passionate about what we do. They're passionate about being, part of this company, and there's no success without having that group of people.
Okay. What's one piece of advice you would have for business owners?
Maybe repeat something I talked about before, related to the people fuel and having people around you that can sort of feed you. Again, we can only give what we've received. And so you can't always be the source of building up other people. You've got to be I don't know if this is a word, but a source E, where you're open to building other people up. And I'll admit for me, it was a little bit hard, whether it's arrogance or insecurity. I think we all have that. We're not secure enough to admit that we all have it, but we all do. And, it's easy for me to think, I ran a $200 million business before. I have a Harvard MBA. I should be able to handle these kind of challenges without much help, but that's just not the case. I've found it's so much harder to run this small business as an owner and have the stomach for some of the things that you go through as an owner. So that support system is just absolutely critical, whether it's coach, therapist, life group that you have. All of the above are probably the right answer.
Okay, awesome. So you had mentioned a few books. What would be your number one book you would recommend to other business owners to read?
Besides People Fuel, I think, and I don't read a whole lot of business books, Mark. I feel like a lot of them are sort of regurgitating, not original ideas. But one of my favorites over the last, I don't know, several years has been It's Your Ship,
Yep.
Management Techniques from the Best Damn Ship in the Navy. Michael Abrashoff is the author. I had the chance to hear him speak last year at our ServiceMaster convention.
Oh, okay.
But I really like that. It's a story of how he transformed a struggling naval ship into like the best one in the fleet by empowering his crew and really fostering a culture of ownership and accountability with the people on board. So that's one I recommend.
Yeah, the USS Benfold.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love that book. That's a great book. So
Yeah.
last of these questions was, if I had a magic wand and you had to choose one area of your business for me to wave my magic wand over and immediately improve it, what would that be?
We just finished the year as an elite franchise in the ServiceMaster network. It means we're in the top 2%. So, when you hear that, you may think, there's not that much you could improve if you're at that level. But I think the higher we climb up that list and the more we grow, the more things I realize that there are, that I'd love to sort of wave a magic wand. But I would go back to having our processes documented and simplified and make sure that we're training and that they're followed by all. I don't want to say it's easy to grow the top line, but it's easier to grow the top line than it is to grow profitability. And we've got the right people. We don't necessarily have all the right processes to manage that growth. So if I could wave the magic wand, I'd love to have those processes in place like yesterday. but we have a heavy focus on it this year, as I mentioned before.
Okay, awesome. All right, so really appreciate it. So my very last question for you today, Brian, what is most inspiring to you today?
What's inspiring to me is, and we openly talk about this, is to experience the emotion of excelling with customers and developing people. And so I would focus on the developing people as most inspiring. We've had some great stories in our company over the past couple of years of, one example being this past year, we had a Cuban immigrant who, on his first day that he was eligible to be hired in the US, we hired him, had a party for him, and he's turned out to be our most versatile technician that we have. He's learned everything in the business. He feels an immense amount of gratitude. So when I talk about growth, the reason we want to grow isn't, so I can build a house in Aspen. It's so that would be nice, but I want to be able to give people like Jose opportunities to come into our company and just watch him grow. We had another person in our Nashville business, Chris. He started about the same time I bought the business as an entry-level technician. He went through a series of jobs to where he eventually ran our Nashville business. He's running our construction business there now, but I mean, he was living in a trailer in his parents' backyard when he joined our company. He's gone from that to building a dream house for his wife. He's expanded his family. To see stories like that is really inspiring. If you're a manager and you can't get excited about seeing someone develop like that and get a promotion, you probably shouldn't be a manager.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. That's great. Thank you so much for your time today. Listeners and viewers, this has been Brian Sampson, owner, president of ServiceMaster Trifecta, Louisville and Nashville. And he's shared some amazing stuff with us. I encourage you to bookmark this and maybe watch it twice to get all the pieces of advice and just brilliance that Brian shared with us today. Bookmark us as well so that you can get every single interview as we drop them, about one a week. And look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you for your time again, Brian. It's been really great.
Thanks for having me, Mark.